my name is Luca and I'm a LARPer. For those who are unfamiliar, LARP stands for Live Action Roleplay, which, to put it simply, is basically where a bunch of people gather together and dress up in fantastical costumes to play stories of make-believe in real time. Kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but you're actually living the story rather than just rolling some dice. For today's adventure, we'll be delving into the dark and bloody world of Vampire the Masquerade. More specifically, Midnight in Melbourne, which is a tri-monthly vampire LARP based in modern-day Melbourne. For those who are unfamiliar, Vampire the Masquerade is a grimdark TTRPG set around the world of vampires. Players take on the role of said vampires, also known as kindred or K-Knights, who exist in a secret gothic punk version of the modern world. The game focuses on the challenges of maintaining humanity and the masquerade while battling their own internal demons and the machinations of other vampires. It tells stories of self, of humanity, and the beast within. You know what, we're just gonna have to go with me looking down at my script a lot. That's just kind of the vibe today, I think. Midnight in Melbourne is a performative, immersive experience where a bunch of players, also known as performers, gather to tell the story of a bunch of these vampires gathering for an Elysium. An Elysium is a gathering that happens every so often where every vampire in a set area gathers to discuss politics, scheme, and divvy up hunting grounds. Though someone who perhaps can explain the entire event a little better than I can is Elm, who is one of the organisers for the event.
Hi, my name's Elm. I'm one of the co-producers of Midnight in Melbourne. We are a theatrical LARP experience, which basically means you come dressed as a vampire, we figure out what clan you're in, and you come vogue with a bunch of monsters. It's been an absolutely fabulous experience. I take care of the graphic and illustration and a little bit of the photography, and it's absolutely amazing. Right now we're telling a camarilla story, which is all about violation, corruption, and power-hungry seat-grabbing. So we have an insane prince, we have terrible Primogen who want to usurp him, and a bunch of new scary clans coming in. So if you're on the fence about freeform LARPs and coming in completely as a character, especially if you've only done combat LARPs or only tabletop experiences, we try to be as beginner-friendly as possible. So you get one vampiric power, one clan, and then you figure it out from there.
The night itself is run in multiple acts. At the beginning of the evening, performers gather at the venue to go through casting. During this out-of-character time, performers are encouraged to grab a drink at the bar, mingle out of character, and just generally vibe and get to know the other players before the event starts. During this time also, however, you go through casting and you also gain your disciplines. Your casting tends to depend on what attire you are wearing for the evening. So depending on how you are dressed, that determines what kind of clan you portray for the evening. Most players tend to have a rough idea of the character they'd like to play before the evening commences, as you do get a dress code of like per clan dress code for what you would like to wear throughout the night, but other people just kind of show up in regular vampire-y attire and they get assigned a clan on the night. Your discipline is basically your vampire power, and that kind of gives you set abilities that you can use and portray throughout the night. Obfuscate is the one I chose personally, which allows when you have your arms crossed and walking sneakily, other players cannot see you in character. There's also disciplines like Presence, which allows you to influence others very heavily. You have, I can't remember the name of them, but there's some that give you advantages in the bloodbath, so on and so forth. Just a bunch of cool different vampire powers. Now, not every clan is always able to be played. Considering how many clans there are in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, each event only has a set number of clans that you're allowed to play. For this event, episode 10, Uneasy Lies of Midnight in Melbourne, you had the opportunity to play a Banu Hakim, a Ministry, a Ventru, a Nosferatu, or a Malkavian. I personally was playing a Banu Hakim for the evening. My character was Rune, an underground fight club owner below Melbourne Central who was turned after being seen in defense of another vampire who was actually their friend from before they were embraced. Once the casting stage is over, we are all gathered by the organisers to go over a briefing for the evening. During this time, we go over any safety features, anything that is important to know for the event, along with being welcomed into the venue and introducing the storytellers and the organisers for the event.
Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Can we please talk about, while we're being welcomed, how beautiful our venue is tonight? Welcome to Sub Club. Can we get a big cheer? We encourage you to have a drink, be social, say hi to our bartenders. You'll notice they're wearing little Midnight in Melbourne pins with a new blood ribbon. They don't have a clan, but they are vampires, so feel free to talk to them in character, and they might give you a rumour.
Is the help signal. So I can't do it while I'm holding the microphone, but everyone else can. Excellent. So if you're uncomfortable, lost, or worried, please raise both your hands, and please respect anyone who is using the help signal and let the storytellers know. Once again, we'll practice it together. Can do this sound? Phenomenal. Cross fingers as well. If you want to ask someone out of character, you look excellent. Cross arms as well. These people are invisible. Where did everyone go? And blank badges. So we have some blank badges available if anyone wishes to signify anything important, such as pronouns, but please know that they are limited in number. If you need one of those, just ask a storyteller or Ivan as well.
One of my personal favourite things about the entire event is how they use lighting and sound to signify different times or like different periods of the event throughout the night. It is super cool, and my little stage manager, theatre nerd brain, absolutely loves that sort of immersion, and it adds such a level of like aspect and like immersive aspect to the night that is really, really cool. When the lights are green, that is out of character time. That is when we are in our green room phase, where the storytellers tell us our goals for the night, they let us scheme and plot mildly in character, and just generally kind of get to know and ease into character a little bit. When the lights turn blue, that is when game commences. That is in character time, where you are role-playing and performing and immersing in this universe. When the lights turn red, however, that's when a witching hour commences. And should a clan have... Oh, yeah! Hello! I'm gay, don't worry about it. Let's not break my set, that's also not helpful. Stay. Nope. Stay. I'm gay, you know what, that's fine, everything's so fine. What was I saying? When the lights turn red, however, that is when a witching hour commences. And should a clan have successfully gotten their license to kill, well, you'll find more about that a bit later on in the video. For now, however, with some of the more out of character things explained and out of the way, I think it's time to get changed into something a little more fitting. Now, with that out of the way, shall I regale you with the tales of political schemes and bloody retribution that occurred at midnight in Melbourne, Chapter 10, Uneasy Lies? Let us begin. Elysium began, as they all do, with a greeting from the Prince. At this point in time, Melbourne is under Camarilla control, with Prince Eclipse being its Malkavian presider. The Nosferatu were our hosts for the evening, welcoming us into the ballroom of Lord Flinders, where they had been presiding for some time. Also present were the Ministry, who had plans to dig in their fangs to Melbourne one final time, and the Banu Hakim, who had their own machinations in place to attempt to prevent them. The Ventrue announced themselves with disgrace, with one of their number refusing to bow to the Prince's rule. Surprising, but also not, also considering the Ventrue's strict hierarchy. A mistake quickly remedied and apologies made, with the Prince Eclipse being satisfied for the time being.
One of our softer brethren, the Ventrue. Welcome! We've made it safe for your return. It's time for you to join us. It's time for you to see what we've done. The blood that we paid. Because we paid many lives to fight the Anarchs. And we waited for help.
My personal perspective of the evening, however, is from the perspective of the Banu Hakim. We began our evening by obtaining 2 relics, daggers that could inflict grievous injury on the one it was used against. I took possession of one, and the other went into the hands of Hicks, a veteran who would use it justly. It was at this time that John Pierre, one of my clanmates but also the sheriff for the Prince, announced that he wished to elect a scourge. Prince Eclipse being strongly against having one in his court, this was to be a secret position that reported directly to him, sourcing out anarchs, caitiffs, and the diablerists and dealing with them as Hakim demands. I stepped up for this position, and with the aid of our blood sorcerers, the sheriff and I were bloodbound. Regardless, we set about our evening, gathering information where we could. I, at one stage, was pulled aside by the sheriff, who was speaking to a caitiff that had no love for the ministry they were bound to. Considering that we were trying to figure out what the ministry were planning for the evening, I entered a mutual blood bond with them, and they became an informant for me, feeding me information on the ministry's goings-on throughout the night. As the night continued, however, the mood got more and more tense, and it all peaked when eventually one of the ministry started a bloodbath. The Prince's Herald, a ministry vampire by the name of Ragamuffin, attacked one of the Ventrue, and I, in the confusion and miscommunication, made a huge mistake. You see, earlier in the night, I had been told that we needed to cut off the head of the snake, executing the ministry's head priestess. As such, in the red lighting and confusion of the bloodbath, I completely mistook who I was meant to be attacking and instead attacked the La Sombra Elder directly in front of Prince Eclipse himself. Mind you, all things considered, this was still an incredibly fun moment because I'm an absolute sucker for punishment and love consequences for my characters. So regardless of my out-of-character mishap, it was super duper fun and led to so much fun roleplay throughout the rest of the evening. Now, normally bloodbaths only last one round, and you can, however, choose to continue it if you also have a secondary license to kill. This is precisely what happened in this situation. Someone continued the bloodbath, and in the next round of combat, the La Sombra Elder, who I had attacked by accident in the previous round, turned on me and attacked me in kind. Now, considering their discipline, this was a lot worse of an attack than the one I was trying to invoke on them, and it was largely thanks to the fact that I had another of my clan nearby, a Banu Hakim, who's my friend Ryan out of character, and he managed to be within arm's reach enough to defend me, and that allowed me to get away and immediately hide amongst the crowd and try and hide from the prince and his court for the rest of the evening. My misfortunes for the evening, however, did not end there. As the night continued, the priestess of the ministry drew all eyes to them, addressing the gathered kindred from the front of the stage. The Banu Hakim wished to test them for diablerie, but just before this scene took place, Jean-Pierre took me aside once again, stating that there was another of the snakes that needed their heads cut off. Ragamuffin, the herald of the Prince Eclipse, apparently knew and spoke too much, so the sheriff wished for me to take care of it. This conversation, however, was noticed and then overheard by both a Malkavian and a Ventru, who pulled me aside and drilled me quite thoroughly on what the whole situation was between myself and the sheriff and why I had attacked the La Sombra Elder earlier in the evening. They did, however, manage to pick up on my title of Shadowed Scourge, but did offer to turn a blind eye for the evening, even aid if they could. So, with that little scheme and thread out of the way, another bloodbath commenced. Using the distraction of the priestess's trial, in which she was found guilty and granted the right of consumption by a lovely little ministry snake by the name of Charm, I attempted to make my move. This time I used the dagger I had been given at the start of the evening and attempted to stab the herald in the back. I, however, was unsuccessful in this attempt as they used their action to defend themselves and there was not enough attacks pointed at them to warrant the attack going through. What was worse, however, was the fact that I hadn't noticed the La Sombra Elder directly behind me in the scene prior. So once the bloodbath commenced, they decided to take their revenge for my earlier misstep. With no one to defend me this time, I took an aggravated injury and quickly managed to try and run off into the crowd to no success as the La Sombra Elder managed to strike me down in penance for my earlier missteps. One of my kin managed to come to my aid in this moment, however, and managed to placate the La Sombra Elder enough for me to be able to not meet final death, which was very helpful considering the situation, and I collapsed, heavily wounded, onto one of the couches in the club. My troubles, however, were still not yet over, as the night continued, a primogen of the prince's court, a lovely Malkavian doctor by the name of Dr. Ellis, summoned me to the prince's side. It would seem consequences for my actions were due. Jean-Pierre thankfully quickly stepped in, quietly telling me of his intentions to alleviate some of the punishment slightly, and as I explained myself to the prince, explaining my mistake as a simple mistake of identity, and claiming that I was following orders, yet not specifying whose for the safety of the rest of the Banu Hakim, Jean-Pierre decided to suggest mildly that as punishment for my missteps, I was to lose my right hand. Jacinta seemed satisfied with the punishment suggested, and so, by the aid of our blood sorcerers in the Banu Hakim and presided over by Dr. Ellis, the primogen, I lost my hand and was bloodbound so that it would not grow back for at least 3 months. With the ministry, save for a select 2 that decided to remain in the prince's court under acts and oaths of loyalty, set to leave the city without their leader, The Ventru, who we had been trying to figure out the intentions of for most of the evening, finally found and dealt with the Anarch that was in their midst. Ironically enough, that Anarch being the Ventru who had spoken up and refused to bow to the prince at the very beginning of the evening.
If there is testification and there is evidence.
I would like to see this evidence.
So would I. That's what we're doing. And I would like to see this evidence.
I heard him during the fight.
You heard them claiming to be an anarch?
During the fight he said, fuck the prince, fuck the Camarilla.
Did anyone else hear this? Put your hand up.
I did.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Final death, is anyone doing a diablerie? Cool. If anyone wishes to continue this bloodbath for another round, please present a license to kill now. The scene shall recommence on my mark. 1, 2, 3.
The deed has been done!
Embarrass my clown that you are a failure and you die as such! Not ashamed of you fucking racist!
Right, everyone, I want your attention. Someone sweep that dust up. It is unsightly in such a lovely place. Thank you, Nosferatu, for that. Oh my. Now we have matters of duty to discuss. Hunting grounds must be divvied.
With that, the night came to a close. We all retreated to our dressing rooms to vote for our hunting grounds for the next 3 months, and the storytellers and organisers closed off the evening, giving thanks and announcing the tallied results for hunting grounds. And, well, it didn't go too well for the Banu Hakim.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, and uneasy lies the dust on the floor of this Elysium. Thank you all so much for a bloody good evening. I'd first like to thank our amazing bar staff and sub-club for being I would also like to let you all know, you may have noticed there are some QR codes sprinkled around. That is how you give us feedback. We want to hear what was great, what we can improve, as well as who you'd like to see next. I'd love to thank our storyteller team. Big round of applause. They wrangle vampires and they do an amazing job.
Hell yeah they do!
Hell yeah, they do. Once we're finished here tonight and we've given you the totals, we are going to be heading upstairs to the joint bar to have another drink. So please come, join us, theorise, have a chat and make some friends. We will also have links for Discords and such. Yeah. And clan photos as well. We will be doing that soon. Yes, we'll do clan photos once we've given you the results of the evening. Photos will go out on socials really soon, and they'll go onto the Discord first, so you can post yourselves with your friends, because we want you to show people that you look really hot as a vampire. Yeah! But now I believe we are to get some results. Ivan, over to you, and I'm going to wander the microphone over.
Going.
The prince may have found
Just before we do this, I'd like to thank all the mums who accepted the fact that we took Mother's Day off. The casino hunting grounds have been cleansed, though they didn't need it.
cleansing! Let's go!
The church hunting grounds are no longer compromised. University hunting grounds are no longer compromised. The theatre hunting grounds remain broken. Those of you with Auspex might be able to look into your little Auspex revelations and find more out. We will have more of those revelations available for you upstairs. We spent some time on that little zine. Hope you enjoy it. Casino hunting grounds will be taken by the Malkavians. The church hunting grounds had 11 votes from the Banu Hakim, which is not enough.
Shit.
to supplant the fact that it was poisoned with 14 votes from the ministry.
Oh fuck!
Meaning the Banu Hakim have cleaned the area but have had to leave in doing so. Judges, I hope you enjoy how it feels to be Toreador. The hospital hunting grounds are unclaimed. The festival hunting grounds are the second one held by... The parklands have been taken by the Ventru. I look forward to see you again next time. The theatre hunting grounds. I'll get to in a moment.
Whoa!
Transport hunting grounds remain firmly in hand from the Nosferatu. The Academic University hunting grounds, now cleansed, also held by the Nosferatu.
Yeah! Nos cleaned up.
The theatre hunting grounds remain broken.
Ooh.
And are a problem.
Whoa!
Which means we only have the Malkavians, Venture and Nosferatu continuing to our next event. However, we do know what the two next clans are.
Tremere.
The Tremere, definitely.
Oh my god!
Those of you who put your badges towards the devil have the Tremere.
Yes!
Oh fuck yeah!
Unfortunately, the Toreador, no one put any towards the 5 good coins, and especially with the Theatre Undergrounds, they will still not be here.
07 story door!
But we will have the introduction of the La Sombra as a class.
With the Banu Hakim driven out of Melbourne by poisonous snakes, it will certainly be interesting to see how the Court of Melbourne go without their judges next event. And with that, the evening concluded. We all returned to the real once more and headed up to the joint bar to discuss and laugh and tell tales about the evening for many hours to come. And with that, our story comes to a close. I'd like to give a huge thank you to the incredible organisers of Midnight in Melbourne for allowing me to play and film at this amazing event, to the amazing staff at Sub Club for hosting our little game of make-believe, to both Jared of Hotlands Photography and Elm for spending a lot of the evening capturing our little schemes and politics and stuff in all of its glory, and of course to the wonderful people I interacted with throughout the night, but in particular to the players of Jean-Pierre, Jacinta and Nettie for getting me into some wonderful roleplay throughout the evening. And finally, to each and every one of you for joining me in this wonderful journey. I hope you all enjoyed this story, and I shall see you all in the next one. Bye!